Okay, thanks, Natalia. And hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Marek, and like about myself, I can mention that I am a Red Hat employee, and I am working from Brno, Czech Republic, and I'm software engineer in Keycloak team since 2013, and working especially on the core parts of Keycloak, like authentication protocols like OpenID Connect and SAML and clients integration. And in this presentation, I will focus especially on the uh, like features added from Keycloak 23 to Keycloak 26 releases, which is around which are basically the features added since last KeyConf conference, which we had in June 2023, and which was around the time when Keycloak 22 was released. So now here there are some new things added in like since then, so like 12, 13 months or so. So the like four most important core features probably are supported user profile and progressive profiling, which was before, but now it's supported since Keycloak 24 and it's enabled by default. And I will have demo for this. And organizations or business-to-business support is a preview feature since Keycloak 25 and will be supported by default probably since Keycloak 26 as well. I'll also have some demo for that one. Recently added things are so in the OpenID Connect and OAuth we have lightweight access token support. We have OAuth 2.1 and FAPI2 draft support, supporting eDDSA as signature algorithm and yeah, so better algorithm support, Depop preview support, and we have now OAuth grant type SPI, which allows some more flexibility for when introducing new grant types. And we have also OID for VCI, experimental support, which Kashi was talking before in his presentation. And most of those features were contributed by members of the OAuth special interest group, which Vinod was presenting about. So thanks everyone for all the contributions. And yeah, so the on the adapters area, we have removed most of Java adapters. All Java or IDC adapters are removed since in Keycloak 25, and the JavaScript and Node.js adapter are the only OpenID Connect adapters which are still supported, but Node.js adapter is deprecated. And for the SAML adapters, we have support still for the SAML adapter for the applications deployed on the new Wildfly servers, which are Jakarta based and on EAP8. Yeah, so like in Keycloak, we are trying to focus more on the server side. So yeah, the adapters were lacking some new features, so that's why we are also removing them to avoid some additional maintenance. On the UI, we have new screens like new welcome page, account console of version 3, and account console of version 2 is removed. We have new login theme of version 2, which will be the default since Keycloak 26, and the login version 1 is deprecated since Keycloak 26. So you can expect login screens and all the login pages to change slightly in the upcoming Keycloak 26 release. And admin account and welcome pages upgraded to pattern 5, to the new version of the framework. On the authentication areas, we have now Argon 2 as the default algorithm for hashing of user passwords, which does not apply for the FIPS environment because the Argon 2 algorithm is not FIPS certified. And this algorithm has better security than PBKDF2 with less CPU usage. So we have better security, but we did not need to sacrifice any performance. And we have passkeys preview support and configurable required actions. That's also something which was mentioned, that like required actions can have config options on them, similarly like authenticators had. Yeah, so for the distribution, we now have Java 21, which is supported since Keycloak 26. Java 17 is deprecated for the server. We have like versioned features, so like new features will support like versioning, and we have like hostname v2, which is like a version 2 of the hostname feature, which allows to like abstract what the hostname will Keycloak use in the tokens and so on. And we have open telemetry tracing, which is useful for tracking performance bottlenecks or application failures. In the high availability area, we have uh, there was lots of work done in the past year. We have high availability guide with blueprints for cloud setups and especially for AWS. There is support for multi-site active passive deployments, which is available since Keycloak 24, and active setup might be supported since Keycloak 26. So yeah, and for the on the storage side, we have persistent user sessions, which is about uh, user sessions are backed in the database and are able to survive cluster restarts. So in previous releases, this was true just for the offline sessions, but now it's also for the regular sessions. And this will be enabled by default since Keycloak 26. We have also ability to persist revoked access tokens. Those were previously also stored just on the Infinispan cache. So now, and they did not survive cluster restarts. So now there is ability to survive cluster restarts. And on the offline session and server startup, so by default, offline sessions are loaded on demand instead of at startup. So now it's time for the user profile. So I have a few slides about this feature. So user profile is supported since Keycloak 24. Before it was just preview, and it allows to restrict which user attributes are available for users and format of the user attributes. And user attributes are the things like email, or first name, last name, and the address. But also it can be like metadata attributes, which should not be visible for the users themselves and just for the administrators. We have dynamic forms with rendered attributes based on the user profile configuration, and some support for grouping of attributes on the page. So some related attributes can be grouped together for better experience of users. There is ability to specify which attributes are read-only or visible for regular users or for administrators. There are also validators for attributes. So, for example, you can specify that some attribute must be of specific length, or that it must be the date, and so on. I will show that in the demo. And annotations, though they allow to specify how are attributes rendered in the UI. Progressive profiling, that's like more advanced thing, which allows um, to configure that some specific attribute may be required or available just for some client applications. So for example, if you have client applications called calendar, which may require that your birth date attribute is filled, or that user's birth date is filled, this client application can ask user for fill the birth date if he did not fill it before. But like other applications may not require that, so birth date is not required for login to other client applications. And progressive profiling is implemented by client scopes, so attributes can be required or available just for specific scope. And like if we want like some attribute to be always visible for some scope uh, or for some client, the client scope can be added as the default client scope to the client, and the attribute will be always visible then. Yeah, so now I will try to show the demo. I have already Keycloak started here, and yeah, so I may create new realm called user profile, and now in the realm settings, like all new realms have the user profile tab. Usually it's visible better, but like now I have really low resolution. So yeah, just answer. And by default, like there are four attributes: the username, email, first name, and last name, which are configured by default. So when administrator creates new user, he is required to fill those attributes. But like when I add some new attribute, for example, birth date, uh, it's yeah, I can specify that the attribute is always enabled, or that it's required, for example, for the users when they are adding it, uh, or yeah, that for example, I can add that it's editable just by administrators. So yeah, like if I create the attribute here, I can specify that the date attribute is here, and administrator can fill it. But regular users won't see that. So if I enable user registration and I open the page like, sorry. So now when I want to register the user, the validate attribute is not there, but perhaps because it's not visible for the user, but like if I make it uh, visible, like that user can edit it. It's now after I refresh this, the validate attribute is here, and it's required for the user to be set. Yeah, but like it's not very friendly because validate is currently like text field, and we usually want validate to be like date. So I can possibly add, yeah, so I can add validation, and I can specify that the date must be in the like date format. We have like few other validations, like for example, that attribute must be in the email format, which is by default enabled for email addresses, or length that attributes may require. That some attributes must be minimum length of 3 characters. For example, integer is or double is for numbers, formats, and so on. And annotations can specify how the attribute is rendered. So here I can use annotation input type. Like there are like more things, like for example, enable help text for some attributes or so on. And here I will add HTML5 date. So now when I save it and refresh this again, the birth date is like in the date format, and there is like a calendar component where user can specify his birth date in more friendly way. Uh, yeah, okay. So uh, I can also show like quick introduction to the progressive profiling, perhaps. Yeah, so progressive profiling may require that like birth date will be required just for some attributes or just for some client applications. So here it can be specified that it's required just when some scopes are requested. So now, if I want, for example, that the that like the attribute is visible just for scope, like I don't know, maybe like I can use this scope microprofile JWT or so, and this client scope is not enabled by default for the account console. So when I refresh this, the birth date is not a required attribute, and the user can register when log into the account console even without birth date. But like if I specify that like account console client has this scope as the default client scope, so it will be always used when log into the account console client. The they should be perhaps required again after request. So user cannot log into or user is required to fill the birth date when he wants to log into this client application. And like if he previously registered and logged to some client applications which did not require birth date, he will now be this screen will be shown like during the login to the account, and the birth date will be shown here. Yeah, I wanted to show that, but like, yeah, I don't know if we have time, so perhaps, like, yeah, I'm leaving it for audience to try it out. And yeah, so now there is time for the organizations, which is another important feature added recently. So the main use cases which Keycloak historically supported is like identity and access management based on the business to employee, when like administrator of the realm manages his organizations and all the user. But Keycloak organizations aims to support better the use cases with the business to business use cases, and it provides like basic multi-tenancy approach. So basically, it provides ability to have client applications and Keycloak available for users which are managed by third-party organization, but the realm administrator wants these organizations to be like used also by the user of that organization, and that like Keycloak and his clients can use it. And the organizations are preview since Keycloak 25. It's like supported. It will be supported probably since Keycloak 26, and we have like dedicated SPI for create, read, update, or delete all organizations. There is also admin REST API. And there is, of course, like ability for Keycloak users to be linked to some organization by admin. Like users themselves cannot link to the organization. And there are like two types of memberships. Like managed membership is that for users which are completely managed by the third-party organizations, and the user is removed from Keycloak realm when the organization or the link is removed. And unmanaged membership is for users who are manually added or invited to the organization by administrators. And like when organization feature is enabled, the authentication flows are automatically updated. And so browser flow is updated for identity first. So it asks user to provide his username first, and based on if it's a user of that organization or not, then maybe some other actions, like for example, users from the organizations can be automatically redirected to some identity provider which is linked to the organization. So Keycloak provides ability that organization can be linked to identity provider. And yeah, so also there are some token claims available in the tokens, like so usually in the as long as the scope organization is added, the claims in the tokens will by default contain the organization claim, and there can be possibly more claims added based on the attributes of the organizations, as the organization can have attribute added to it. So yeah, I've started Keycloak. Well, right now, organization feature is not yet enabled by default, so I needed to start the Keycloak with the organization feature enabled. And now I have like realm org A, which is just the realm with the single user right now, and I have realm org demo, and I want like realm of the org demo may want to like use the organizations of the org A realm. So here I have already created identity provider, which basically redirects to the org A use it redirects user to the org A realm, but it's not like yeah, there is not yet any organization support. So when I yeah, when I log into the org demo, there is a normal login screen with username and password and with possibly redirect to the org A broker. But here, so in the administrator settings, I can first show that like that flows are slightly reconfigured from the default. So there is this organization flow which allows to which has some conditions, and if user is member of the organization, it can automatically redirect user to the identity provider. Uh, so in the realm settings, there is this switch organizations which must be enabled, and now the top organizations appears here, and I could create some organization in my realm. So I will create organization called org A, and I will use that domain. Orga.com is like trusted by this organization. And yeah, I can add members of my realm manually to the organization, like as an administrator. But I can also link the organization with the identity provider. So if I do this, I can select the identity provider which I have, and I can select one of the domains of the organization. Organizations can have more domains, so I will select orga.com. And I want to specify that normal users which are not members on the organizations are not able to use this identity provider, so it won't appear for them on the login page at all. But like users from the organization with the matching email domains will be automatically redirected to the identity provider linked to the organizations. So when I save this and I want to yes, and when I send this refresh the login page again, on the very first screen, user needs first to provide his like username, and yeah, if I provide the username of some other user which is not member of organization, I'm asked to provide the password. But like if I provide the username of the user who is member, uh, yeah, so this was mhm. So now I'm redirected to the org A, so I'm on the organization org A, and now I have, when I provide like password of the user from the org A realm and sign in, I'm redirected back to my like org demo account console, and the user himself can see the organization he is linked with, but he cannot unlink or do anything. Yeah, so that's it for the organizations for now. And that's all for my demo. So any questions? Yeah, Stas? Yeah.
Uh, Thank you for the demo. I have a question on the users. If you add the new profiles, what happens to the old users, the existing users, and if you made it mandatory? And then,
Mhm,
two, for the organization, I'm not seeing the difference because both users go to the login page on this demo.
mhm. Yeah, so like if, for example, a user has some attributes, and then uh, yeah, and then, for example, he does not have attribute phone at all. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So if you add that phone is required and user does not have it yet, the user will be required to fill the phone or required attributes during his next login. So yeah, like basically all the this will adapt for users during their next login. So like that there will be the page shown during the login when users need to fill the new attributes which are now required for them. Uh, you mean for the organization, if like if the password was incorrect, take it to a login screen, same as with other user, so that they went to the same login screen. Mhm. Yeah, like the yeah, that's the login screen of the another realm. Yeah, so that was the login screen provided by identity provider, which in theory can be used in completely different realm. But like you mean that organization does not provide the attributes which are mandatory by user profile? Is it what you meant? But yeah. Hmm. Yeah, like usually uh, when users log in for the first time into Keycloak, and like identity their attributes are provisioned from the identity provider, but like if the identity provider does not provide all the attributes which are required by the realm, there is again the user profile screen shown, and users will need to fill the attribute which are required. So those attributes may not be managed by the uh, yeah, so will not be provided from identity provider. But like honestly, I don't know what will happen if the users is supposed to be managed by the organization and he does not have all the attributes filled. So yeah, uh, not not sure if he is allowed to provide the missing attributes because he's supposed to be managed by the organization. So yeah, that's something which we can try to. Oh, mhm. Yeah. So it's. Do we have time or not? No. Okay. Uh, yeah. So we can sync afterwards if you have any more questions. Thank you.